again at the conclusion of the Senate meeting in which this resolution is adopted.
Do we have any discussion on this resolution? Our audience member.
The justification for changing this from a non-RA eligible position to an RA eligible position.
Do we have any discussion? Our secretary.
Part of what we want to work on this year, we had I don't know if I can say this. There were no other applicants. We recommended, we reached out to a bunch of people. Nobody was interested. Anthony has expressed interest in this he's been in it for 3 years now. So I know that this has nothing to do with Anthony himself. However, we are asking the Senate to waive it for him. I recognize that this is not a typical thing. However, part of what we want to work on with CFB next semester is turning it back over to the club funding board instead of, overseeing all of the club functions. And so part of that is also going to be lessening the workload on the CFB org head and giving it back a little bit more toward the CSI office and overseeing club activations and things like that, rather than the funding, keeping CFB as the funding piece of it. And with that, I'll yield to Anthony.
I also just want to say for the audience member, I'm not accepting this position solely for any specific purposes. I wanted to first help SGU understand more of CFB and what it's about and not kind of overtake it and make it something that it's not. I've been with it for 3 years and I've loved my whole 3 years under Chris, under Emma, under everyone. I've enjoyed it every single year and I want to make sure that it stays that way, and I want to help SGU look for a new CFB chair in my time. I only have 1 semester left and my workload is very light next semester, and I plan to work closely with Megan and Ben to make sure that it stays up frontal at every single cost, and I'm willing to do that for the clubs. I yield.
Do we have any further discussion on this resolution? Would we like to? President Fish.
I'll entertain a motion to go and I'll rescind that. So I'll ask CFB this. Do you mind if we skip your introduction because we all work with you, or would you like to still introduce yourself? And I'll yield to.
Personally, I'd like to ask the Senate that, do you guys want me? I know some of you don't know me. I know some of you do. Would you like me to formally introduce myself? Because I am more than happy to.
Senator Self.
Truthfully, I've seen you at the meetings, but I've never fully met you, so I wouldn't mind having the introduction done.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, President Fish.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to enter a 1-minute introduction phase, followed by a 1-minute question or a questioning period of 3 questions with a 1-minute answer time, and then enter into a executive session.
Do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Yella. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Guntert. Does anybody oppose unanimous consent to this motion? Seeing none, this passes 9-0-0. We will now be entering a 1-minute questioning period, or a 1-minute introduction period. If I bang my gavel, it's not me telling you to stop. It just means you have 10 seconds left, okay? You can come right up to the mic.
Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name's Anthony Dio. Thank you for actually getting it right. You're the first one to have ever gotten it right. I'm a CS major here at SUNY Poly. Been here for 3 years. I'm also a minor in math. I know, really disgusting. I'm sorry to tell you all that. But I mainly have chosen to step up because I have worked closely with Trevor, Emma, and Chris, and I have such close contact with all of them. And I just want to help you guys get a better understanding of what it is. But more along myself, I'm goofy, as most of you have probably known, and I wear that with pride, and I promise you I am not going to be strict and being like, I yield. No. I'm going to be fun about this. I don't want you guys to see me as a super professional person. I also want you guys to see me as a person you can come to with any questions, comments, concerns, and stuff like that. But I'm also very open, very honest, and that can bite me in the butt a little, but that's okay. And I just generally do love doing what I do here. Thank you.
We will now be moving into a 3-question questioning period. Would anybody like to ask the first question? Senator Self.
All right, as usual. Well, it's good to hear about you. Here is my first question for you. When has there been a time that you have failed, and you used it as a chance to learn off of it?
So back in my sophomore year, I was actually not only doing CFB, but I was working 2 jobs off campus, and I was doing my classes all at the same time. And for those of you who don't know, I am very academically driven. So when I got 3 Bs in one semester, I was in my floor crying, super depressed. But what I did was I started taking time and energy to not only work on myself, but take time to understand what was causing me to maybe fall on the wrong end. And it made me learn that sometimes time management is really key. So I've really reopened my schedule. I've really reworked it so that way I have time for not only now as an RA for my residents, but time for my CFB job, time for my classes, time for my friends. And now I wouldn't say I'm booked, but I'm more inclined to being time oriented.
Thank you. Would anybody like to ask the second question? Seeing no further questions, do I have a motion to entertain? Do I have a motion to enter? Is it already? Oh shoot, that's right. Alrighty, we are now in executive session. we are still in discussion on the resolution. Does anybody have any discussion? Senator Rogers.
I dropped my microphone. I forgot it was on. So, I'd like to make a motion to add at the end of the resolve, be it finally resolved, the student government Utica would like to make known its intention to re-examine the RA eligibility on many contracts, including the CFB chair position.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Rosamilia. Do we have any discussion on this motion? President
I
Fish.
just want to clarify, we wanted to bring you back in so that it was recorded, and then the audience members can speak on it if necessary, and then we can vote on it and then go back into executive session.
Do we have any discussion? Our audience member.
Explain the RA aspect of my job. I'm just confused as to what you guys would like me to inform.
President Fish.
No, we don't want you to explain anything if you don't want. That was forward. You don't need to explain anything if you don't want to. We just simply were going to state that there is a plan to change different roles to RA eligible.
Absolutely. So my aspect on that is that RAs pretty much make their schedules way in advance to what our job inclines. I can tell you that my job specifically, and as to why it's easier for me to be able to do this in the RA, is that I will be in Hilltop. So half of my job is actually being given to another RA. I have to put in quotation marks because she's not an official RA, but she's taking half of the job for me, and I'm taking the other half. So she's doing more event-wise, and I'm doing more planning-wise. So that's why it's a little easier for me. But I do want to say that RAs don't do as much as it seems. Our job is more stressful because of the fact of more along the management aspect. I know Brittany and Jen and our ADs have a lot on their plates, and they tend to give it to us. But we all have a lot of free time on our plates, let me tell you. I know our Chief Justice can explain that our jobs can be busy. They can be very lenient. My job specifically, I am a quick and go. I get my health and safeties and my one-on-ones done as early as possible. So it's more along a time management aspect. So if the RA eligibility really is your concern, I totally agree that if you guys want to continue to make that, I can't argue with that. It's there for a reason. It's been there for a reason. But I can also say that as an RA, I have a lot more free time than it may seem. I yield.
Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Our Chief Justice.
Not like consistent work. It's there are spikes and bursts of intense periods. So you at the start of the semester you have your one-to-ones, right, and you get that done, right. Then it slows down, and in the middle of the semester, right before breaks, you have your health and safeties, and then it spikes up a little bit more, and then it slows down, and then it goes back to, oh, okay, now closing responsibilities. So it's not like it is a lot of work, right? It is, and Anthony can agree to that. But it's not like a consistent commitment that you're completely swamped outside of your duty days. I yield.
Our audience member.
I also want to clarify a little more. So as my job in Hilltop, I don't have as many responsibilities as I do as an ADK. I do have to do health and safeties, and I do have to do one-to-ones. But my one-to-ones, I just want to clarify a little more. They get done the second week of classes for the semester. My health and safeties get done the week before break. And for my boards, because in Hilltop, some of you who do live in Hilltop know that they are electronic boards, so I already have them made already for next year, so that's already done. And being that I'm working with Sammy, she's a lovely person, she's actually doing half of the job I said, but she's going to be catering more to the residents as she knows them longer, and I'm going to be there more as the official RA to handle any paperwork, any reports and stuff that I have to do. I yield.
Do we have any discussion on the motion to add the resolution bullet? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding the bullet? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain. That motion passes 9-0-0. We're moving back onto discussion of the resolution. President.
You make the motion. You want to do it?
Pro Tem Schnorr.
You enter executive session.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Wallachie. Do I have any discussion on moving into executive session? Seeing none, does anybody oppose unanimous consent? Seeing no opposition, this passes 9-0-0. We will move back into executive session to discuss the candidate. I'm sorry, audience members.
God.
Alrighty. This resolution passed 900. Congratulations. We will now be moving on to our final piece of resolution. This is for the motorsports bill. No. Am I stupid? I'm stupid. I just didn't see. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Morgan. That was my bad. Alrighty. We will now be moving on to the actual second to last piece of legislation because I can't read. Resolution 2223-40, Senator Rogers.
Accept Senate Resolution number 2223-40.
You do not need a second. You may proceed.
We, the Senate of the SUNY Poly Student Government of Utica, do hereby resolve as follows. The purpose of this resolution is to provide funding to the SUNY Poly Foundation for the purchase of the class of 2023's class gift. Whereas the class gift committee has met and agreed on repairing and refurbishing the alumni pavilion as a preferred project for the class gift of the class of 2023, and whereas the SUNY Poly Vice President of Development has shown support for the chosen class gift project, therefore be it enacted, Student Government Utica will transfer $7,000 from line number 390 to the SUNY Poly Foundation for the purpose of funding the class gift, and the allocated funds will be used to repair the alumni pavilion, and remaining funds from the transferred $7,000 will be used to assist in the purchase of benches for outdoor seating. Therefore be it resolved, be it finally resolved, the Student Government Utica will provide $7,000 from line number 390 to the SUNY Poly Foundation for the purchase of the 2023 class gift of the alumni pavilion repair and refurbishment.
Do we have any discussion? Senator Rosamilia.
Information. What is the name of the line number 390? I yield to the floor.
Secretary Wadsworth.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do we have any further discussion? Senator Rogers, I'm sorry.
So, I wrote this, but I'm going to apologize. I did get an email from Andrea Legata asking if I could change a word inside the resolution, just to make it easier for administrative stuff once this all passes. I'd like to make a motion for, in the enacted segment where it mentions benches, to remove that and just say for the purchase of outdoor seating.
Alrighty. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Gunter. Do we have any discussion on the motion? President Fesh.
No, never mind.
No discussion. Do we have any discussion? Our advisor.
When after I had sent this to Andrea Legata to look this over before I submitted to the agenda, unfortunately I had to do it before she could get back to me completely on the whole thing. She just asked regarding how in enacted we kind of specify benches rather than the sort of bench table thing that we had been looking at. And I had let her know that I had just kind of and tried to leave it a bit more towards her decision should that be something that we reach the part where the class gift committee can't necessarily meet, so that she can get that sort of done administratively. And we kind of agreed that to make that a bit easier on the idea of the thing that we just removed the mention of benches and just say outdoor seating.
Do we
No,
have
yield.
any further discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, does anybody oppose unanimous consent to said motion? Seeing none, this passes 9-0-0. Back onto discussion of the resolution. Does anybody have any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the class gift resolution? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain. This resolution passes 9-0-0. Back onto the next bill will end up being the motioned bill for Wildcat Motorsports. This time I got it right. Pro Temp Schnort. Okay.
Motion to accept Senate Bill number 2223-XX.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Rosamelia.
We, the members of the student government at Utica of SUNY Poly, as represented in the Senate, do enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to make Wildcat Motorsports an organization.
Do we have any discussion on the bill? President Fish.
So unfortunately, I see that they have a signature sheet with. Oh, did I ever say? I'm sorry. So I see that they have the signature sheet attached. So unfortunately, we did just pass the signature sheet bill last week. So unfortunately, this isn't valid. Even though it's not in the policies yet, we did pass it, and we haven't had time to update that because it has been less than a week. So I'd like to ask our audience member a few questions about the petition. 3 questions. 1, how did you ensure that there were no duplicates? How did you ensure that these were SUNY Poly students? And how did you ensure that these individuals were who they were, who they said they were? And I'll yield to our audience member.
I'd like to yield to Wildcat Media.
I just have a quick question. Just wondering, why is there no number 37 on the list of signatures?
I'll answer all 4 of these questions simultaneously. First of all, nowhere had I seen the passing of the signature bill, of the petition bill. Last I had seen in the policies and procedures, which is the governing documents, was that the petition format needed to be followed for creating legislature. This was not creating a legislature. This was collecting public opinion. Students were verified using our Outlook directory system to verify that they are students and their graduation year. I have no way of verifying that anyone is who they say they are. Anyone can fill out a form saying they are someone else. There's no one stopping you from signing into a CFB meeting saying that, I can sign into a CFB meeting saying I'm Ava, and CFB has no way of verifying that. I can sign in and say that I'm anyone else, and there's no way of verifying that. And the graduation years, we left names off of this list to protect individuals' identities due to what incidences that have occurred in the past with petitions and student government. And number 37 was removed after the numbers were added because it was found to be a false signature.
Our president.
So I have 2 questions, but I need this one answered first. You mentioned that somebody had to use the sunypoly.edu Outlook account to sign the petition.
Nope, you did not have to sign in with your Outlook account. I used our Outlook directory to verify students.
President Fish.
I yield.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? CFB.
I just want to first commend Baja for doing everything you do. I appreciate the work that you guys do. Mine isn't necessarily towards this bill. It's more of a suggestion, an idea that I've thought about for a while is maybe we do a different idea of creating a new org. And Baja, feel free to comment after this. But my suggestion is maybe making an engineering disciplined organization. So that way it caters more to all engineering disciplines on this campus. But President Fish, before I yield to you, I'm going to yield to our audience member. I yield.
I would just like to speak. So one of the major criticisms that this bill had received last week when it was brought back to the table was the lack of student awareness on this bill. So with the 92 signatures that we received on this bill and 91 with the removal of number 37, I would like to break it down by major for all of you. So you don't have to sift through the list. I did the sifting for you. We had 1 applied math major, 2 biology majors, 2 business majors, 7 civil engineering technology majors, 1 civil engineering major, 6 computer and information science majors, 1 computer engineering tech major, 2 computer and information systems major, 1 cybersecurity major, 2 electrical and computer engineering majors, 2 electrical engineering technology majors, 2 IMGD majors, 1 master's student, 41 mechanical engineering technology students, 16 mechanical engineering students, 4 network and computer studies, network and computer security students, 1 undeclared student for a total of 92 signatures. While we have the petition open, I'd like to point you all to comment 80. I unfortunately don't have it pulled up here, but I would love to have you all take a moment to read comment 80. I just pulled it up here. This is from a civil engineering technology student, which has nothing to do with mechanical or mechanics. And this comment states that they definitely think that SUNY Poly's Baja team should become an org. They will serve as a group opportunity for present and future students to be involved and participate in something exciting and related to their major. Comment 75 echoes a similar sentiment, stating that, from a computer information science student, stating that they were a senator for SGU and they frequently saw Baja in the audience and they would bring up concerns, but SGU never did much for them. They feel that Baja deserves to be an organization in order to get the representation that they deserve within the Senate. Excuse me. Signature 68 states from a computer science student that this club should be an organization. Signature 60 states from a master's student that they support this club becoming an organization, that it would make a good community in the campus for all of the quote-unquote youngsters. I take a little offense to that statement, but anyways. Comment 52 also echoes a very similar sentiment from a network and cybersecurity major, stating that they would like, to see what will become of this new org. Again, we went out and collected these signatures in less than a week. Almost 100 signatures in a week, I know, is something that SGU struggles to do with votes for the election. So the criticism of Baja not informing the campus community of what we are trying to do should be null and void at this point, and I yield to our Chief Justice.
I don't like doing this. Signatures. I am in no doubt saying that I've seen the emails, I've seen the awareness, I've seen them in the Discords. I'm in no doubt questioning that your push forward in this, but they're not signatures. I don't think it's appropriate to call them signatures. But I had one comment and one statement, and that is the last time an org was created was through Wildcat Esports. And in that meeting, because I was very close friends with Joe Center, when the org head of that, in that meeting, I think it was, I don't know the official number, it was 50 or 60 students, but there were individuals in the audience being pushed forward. And Haley, I think you're an amazing person, and I think that you are really, really pushing for this. But I think what SU wants to see is more people involved and a greater involvement. So coming here and bringing a list of 72 people, that's great, that's awesome. It's just, I would just like to preface that I don't vote on anything like this. I'm just making a statement. But yeah, I don't know how everybody else feels, and I would love to hear how the Senate feels, whether they are convinced of, because if that's what we asked them to bring, and they gave us something, we should be discussing that. So I'll yield to the floor.
Senator Yella.
Information, how can they request for signatures? Does that should be in person, or can they send through Discord links or private group chats like Instagram or Snapchat? Anyone, I yield to the floor. Anyone can answer the question.
President Fish.
So it doesn't specify. You can do it online or in person. Both are equally the same. But how many, to our audience members, how many, just simply a number, how many fake names did you find, or any duplicates did you find?
We found 3 invalid entries that were entries of the name John Doe with a 1900 graduation year and no major listed.
Wildcat Media.
So another question I have about the transparency thing is that I know one of the major points of contention for some members of SGU was the budget and how it mentioned spending things on like breaks and suspension that not all students would be able to use. When you shared the petition on the Discord, you had a Google Drive link of the government documents that did not include the budget. I'm wondering if this is about transparency, why was the budget not included, and how could you say that the students were well informed when one of the major points of contention was not included in the documents provided with the petition?
Our audience member.
I'd first like to address the Chief Justice's comments that these are not signatures. What is the definition of a signature then? To address Wildcat Media's concerns, we did not include the budget because we are still under consideration of working with the budget. The new budget has been sent to you all with this bill here today and address the concerns that were seen in the last statement. And again, I would like to reiterate, I am not the author of this bill. Many people here seem to think that I am the end-all be-all for Baja. I was the president for a year and a half. But the members you see here stated today are all here in support of this bill. And a lot of former Senate members, former org heads, we brought people. So if your complaint is people, we have people. If your complaint is numbers, we have numbers. If your complaint is money, we fix the money for you. At this point, it seems like there's a lot of stonewalling going on for an unnecessary reason. I yield to Senator Snor.
Well, I acknowledge you've addressed most of our concerns. I think the biggest concern that we didn't see fulfilled was the variation and catering to all students. Your signature sheet, well, acceptable or not acceptable, shows a vast majority of just mainly engineering, and as an org, they should be catering to all majors and students. I yield.
President Fish.
So actually, oddly enough, the current policy is actually more restrictive than the policy we just passed for petitions. So if we want to use what our audience member says that she used for the petitions, so an official petition shall be written on official petition paper obtained in the SGU office or electronically submitted on the official SGU petition website, which is through Engage. That was not done. And then it continues to say official petitions will be read during open forum. That was not done. And then the vice president will assign the petition to a senator to make a bill or resolution based on the petition to read at the following meeting. If possible, they should work with the author of the petition. None of them are followed. Yes, you can argue that these are a support sheet, but changing the name doesn't really change our policies.
Our advisor.
I think it's been 3-4 weeks, right? So the question I'm going to ask for everyone to hear, audience included, who's new to the audience, whatever it may be, semantics about petitions and everything else, but it goes back to the why. And I think that the why we've lost sight as an association as to the why. Breaks, what majors? Yes, the org is for the collective body, so absolutely, right? But can you, or the members that are in the audience, reiterate the fact of why this is so important as a club to become an organization? Because I'll have some comments after that, but I want to focus on the why part with my reasoning, justification for what I said last week.
Our audience member.
I'd like to read you all the justification of this bill to explain the why, as we explained in the past 3 weeks that we have been here for you all. Wildcat Motorsports. We'll start all the way back up at the purpose and justification. The purpose of this bill is to establish an on-campus organization that will provide students an opportunity for advancement in career and technical skills, as well as an application of many skills in regards to their major. We've talked time and time again about the various majors and the various ways that they can be involved in this club, or organization, excuse me. We'll provide the tools and structure necessary for students to compete in an international event. The competitions are open to all members, compete against schools from around the globe. Showcasing all aspects of the organization: business, sales, design, marketing, engineering, ergonomics, everything we've talked about in the past 3 weeks. We'll also provide the student population with membership to the Society of Automotive Engineers, which is applicable beyond graduation, opening new opportunities for all involved in the organization. Moving on to our justification, that the organization will provide job skills such as manufacturing, design, systems engineering, parts fabrication, operation and logistics, accounting, supply chain and acquisition, and more beyond that. Wildcat Motorsports will provide career and networking opportunities to the campus, such as working with suppliers and representatives for companies, communication and collaboration with other regional Baja teams, working with local engineering talent, and sales and costing of design sales, costing, and design of the car, as well as the other things that we have promised to the Senate time and time again. There seems to be a hang-up on what we will provide to the campus community, and we've listed in our policies and procedures on our Constitution the things that we are willing to do for this campus. I yield to our advisor, or the advisor, excuse me.
That be done in a club format? What makes you different from the bridge, from our bridge competitions to robotics to anybody else that would fall in the same categories of career building, credibility, or whatever? All those things that were wonderfully said and make 100%, and I'm fully supportive. What's the difference between an org and a club in that manner? I yield to the audience member.
As we've explained before, we would like to become a club to assist, becoming an organization rather than a club, to assist in secured funding, which will allow us to provide more services to the campus community. We would not spend the majority of each semester fighting for funds with you and student government and CFB and working to fundraise over $20,000 in an academic year, which is unheard of from any other club as far as I've ever known. And additionally, becoming an org allows us the visibility to have support from the school. The school has historically not been in support of us because we are simply a club. You know, we are one of the longest running clubs here on this campus. Alongside us is BLASU. We are not against any other club should they try to become an org. If Golf Club wants to become an org, we're all for helping them. If BLASU wants to become an org, they deserve as much a seat at this table as we do. I'd like to yield to CFB.
Bring up that factor of BLASU wanting to become an org, because I can guarantee you guys, and I've said it before, but I want to reiterate what I've said. BLASU will try to become an org, and I can tell you, you guys have seen it, their events that they have put on have garnered huge amounts of people. They give us the most delicious food I think I've ever had on this campus yet to become, and the money that they're asking compared to Baja will be almost triple that, and I can tell you that they will use that fully, and that's just my concern. I support Baja and their achievements and everything that they've done, but I want to say that BLASU will be the next one, and then it will be golf. And it's more about you guys considering how many orgs can we really allow to become an org. I yield to the floor.
Our secretary.
So I'll use the mic again. So I actually have a question regarding the bill. So under miscellaneous, it says Wildcat Motorsports organization positions will go unpaid until the start of the 23 to 24 academic year. Our budget passed. Do you have like a plan or anything? How would you like to see your budget included in our budget even though it already passed? I'm going to yield to the audience member.
The plan for that was during the reserves poll. Knowing as there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of student dollars, activity fee dollars tied up in reserves, we'd like to see some of that put towards activities that will benefit the students and not sitting in reserves. I yield to our secretary.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So you want to wait until we do the reserves poll in the fall, spring semester, whatever is chosen, or when we choose to do it? You want to wait till then?
Correct.
Okay.
As mentioned in miscellaneous, our budget will be carried over from our club line to our org line. So we'd have the baseline operation funds to sustain us for a semester at most. I yield.
Our Chief Justice.
This is in direct comment to CFB. If it's just a matter of funding and if it's just a matter of money, why are we going through the entire matter of creating an organization and not just changing financial policy where we can give more money? I'll yield to CFB.
So actually, thanks to our secretary, we have been working on that. We have asked our clubs to submit us new budgets so that CFB's budget can actually be more representative of what our clubs need. And so far, we've only had so few clubs, but if Baja did ask for the entirety of their money, there'd be no reason why we couldn't give it if the other clubs didn't. And that's something that Bailey, Jay, Ava, and I, along with Ben and Megan, have actually been working on, is reworking what club funding board really means and how we can better address the clubs and their needs. I yield to the floor.
Senator Gunter.
1 to 150.
Alrighty, do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Rogers. Do I have any discussion on moving open forum back? Seeing none, does anybody oppose unanimous consent? Or do you have? Okay, seeing none, does anybody oppose unanimous consent? Seeing no opposition, this passes 9-0-0. Open forum will now begin at 1:50. Moving back into discussion of the bill, President Fish.
So in the previous meetings when we asked how is it going to help business students and stuff like that, they mentioned that the business students would focus on the business pitching and stuff like that. So I want to ask our audience members why isn't that the case right now? Why don't you have a group of business students going out pitching the company or the club to your possible sponsors while the engineers are building it. Shouldn't you be able to show us that that's possible? But that just doesn't seem the case right now. I yield.
Our audience member.
I'd like to point out that I cannot force everyone to come to these Senate meetings. I cannot force everyone to come in front of you and grovel for money, much like we are today, and much like we have at every not every, I shouldn't say every, excuse me, much like we have at many meetings this semester. We've been here, we've asked for support, we've received pushback, we've come back with what you've requested, and I don't see why we need to prove every instance of everything we are doing. And to go back to what Chief Justice Tabor was saying, this is not just about money. If we were here for money, you would have seen us just saying, hey, we want some money. We wouldn't have returned week after week with proof, and a larger audience than we've seen for the majority of this semester. If we were just here for money, we would have just said money. I yield to Senator.
Our audience member.
So the membership of the Society of Automotive Engineers allows you into a large network of individuals, not necessarily automotive engineers. It is a national society, much like honor societies or things like that, where you're into a networking community to meet others, to help you with jobs, internships, things like that, personal projects. I can attest currently, multiple of our Baja members have received job offers simply from being on the team, and it helps market yourself. I yield to Chief Justice Tabor.
So all I was going to say is that I'm going to say one thing to people in the horseshoe, and I'll say one thing to the audience. The people in the horseshoes that we've asked, and I feel like that we have asked, in their interpretation, they have given. I don't think in any sense of the regard that they haven't been trying, or that whatever that we've been asking. So I just want you to keep that in mind. To the audience, I think you guys are, as students, I think you are more than welcome to do whatever you wish to do. And I solely believe, as somebody who's graduating, that it's left in good hands. I would like to entertain a motion to call the question, because I think we're just sitting here just talking about semantics, and either we vote for it or we don't. So I yield.
Do I have a so moved? So moved by, because you have motion power. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Gunter.
You don't have to if you want to.
Is there any discussion on, no discussion and calling the question? Do we have any opposition to the motion? Seeing opposition, we move on to voting. All those in favor for calling the question? Please raise your hands high so I can see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? This motion passes 7.
This bill is in new business, correct?
Yes.
Can we vote on a bill in new business?
No,
Don't we have to
no.
wait till next week?
Darn.
Thank you. That motion is void. I
didn't know that.
That's my bad.
All right, well, now I look.
Wait, can you call the question?
You can.
Just ends the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just get clarification on what's happening?
Yes.
Over here, I can't hear anything.
So there was a call to question, which generally means we either end discussion or move into voting. Because this is a new business, we cannot vote on it today, so we have just voted to end discussion, basically. So, no problem.
All right,
Discussion
well, I
has-
still achieved my goal.
Discussion has ended 7-2-0. This will be reintroduced next week. Seeing our agenda has concluded, we will now be moving into open forum. Does anybody have anything for open forum? Senator Gunter.
Before open forum, can I mark this bill for immediate attention?
No.
Discussion.
Discussion
ended.
already.
Okay.
That
I didn't know I
next
could
week.
do
Just
that.
do
All right.
that, but just do that next week, though, when the agenda happens. Can we not just? Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. All right. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Do we have any discussion for open forum? Our audience member.
I missed the cutoff for the call to question, but I will just mention something. I think you're thinking really narrow-minded.
If you're speaking on a bill, we can't talk about bills in open forum. That is against
Okay.
House rules. I'm sorry. Or is that House rule?
New business, so you can
Yes,
talk about it next
in
week. If
new
you'd like
business.
to.
It just can't
Could
be.
you please cite the rule that says that?
So because
Could you cite the rule that says
yeah,
that?
we're
though?
not in that business anymore, so that's why you can't speak on it because
So-
we're not talking about the business.
In Robert's rules, everything is via motion, right? So technically we motion the bill and you can only talk about said motion during that motion. Open forum is not part of that motion, so you can't talk
The
about it
bill,
via Robert's
the
rules.
bill is the main motion essentially.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to talk generally then. As a student, I'm a civil engineering major. I don't live as a civil engineer. As many of you know, I do a lot of other things. I was in cross country, I was in soccer. Your major isn't determinant of what you do on campus. You know, it's not playing soccer last fall isn't, you know, oh, I'm a civil engineer, how does the soccer team serve me? I think that, you know, maybe the Senate, when discussing things, should think a little more open-mindedly. The point of clubs is for people to join because it's outside of their majors, outside their interests. It's, you know, it's something that they like to do. So I think, you know, when things like that come up, you should probably think a little more, you know, it's not about how everything serves you. How does, you know, I could sit there and be like, well, how does the Factory Times serve me? You know, but then I realize that as a student, I'm able to read it or I'm able to join. And you have to think a little bit broader than just my major is this, so therefore, you know, this has to directly apply to everything that sits on the table before you. I yield.
Do we have any discussion for open forum? Our director of PR.
Just want to make something clear, you know, PR guy, whatever. But I really just want to say thank you. You guys going up to that microphone is definitely something that's put in the hot seat. We've asked you questions and you guys have definitely answered, so I just want to make that clear just in case anybody hasn't said that. Thank you. I yield.
Do we have any discussion for open forum? See, President Fish.
So even though I would still recommend Wildcat Motorsports to introduce the signature sheet during open forum, so then it's at least valid in one of the rules.
Well, hold on. Point of order. It's not on our petition sheet, so we can't.
Yeah. So, but then they're at least able to talk about.
Point of order.
Okay.
We're not in the bill. How
Right,
can the audience
so-
members not talk about the bill, but you can?
Our president. Yeah,
So I'm just giving you the opportunity because you came to me with a signature sheet to introduce it during open forum. If you don't do that, you're not following our rules at that point.
Our audience member.
Again, double standard here. You've told audience members they can't speak on bills when we're not in the motion for a bill, and here you are speaking on a bill. I'd like to, again, we asked for a citation in the rules where audience members were not allowed to speak on the bill. You have not provided us with a citation. Could you please provide us to a citation in the rules?
Point of order, that would be Robert's rules. Each motion under Robert's rules, a bill is considered a main motion. You can only talk about things in the main motion while in the motion. Once you move on to another motion, which would be open forum, you cannot talk about things outside of that motion. That would be under Robert's rules. I don't know the exact number in Robert's rules, but that is just how we have run. It's how Robert's rules runs. That is in Robert's rules, and that is what we've been using on the Senate. CFB.
Said, President Fish, if you want to do that, make it a generalized statement as that way it's okay. I yield.
Our audience member.
When you said point of order, isn't it supposed to be point of information?
Point of order would be.
No, I'm pretty
second.
sure it's point of information because you're trying to inform
just
the other
yes.
party. And I
Sure.
also have like 2 points here. So President Fish mentioned changing the name does not change the policy. Last semester, there are 2
Point of
resolutions.
information. Are you talking about order that is outside of open forum and that is a motion?
No. I'm talking about in general.
Okay.
Because changing the name does not change the policy is what President Fish said. But last semester, there are 2 bills, 2 resolutions written in bill format. I think he just contradicted himself right there. And then there's also, why is the business major not out there pitching? So to my information, I do know that
Is this
our secretary.
point of information? Is what you were talking about is a petition that was introduced in the bill. Please wait till next
No,
week.
it's not. This is general.
This was discussion that was brought up during the motion. I ask that
Thi-
you please bring it back next week. Thank you. Would you like to proceed on a separate subject because this is part of a bill that was already motion then?
No, this is talking about SGU as itself, because President Fish is contradicting himself, which he shouldn't be doing. And as an audience member, I've seen this, and I'm bringing it up right now. And you're trying to shut down my voice? Is this what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing? Because we have other audience member out here who is seeing what you're doing right now. I'm trying to bring up feedbacks about how President Fish is contradicting himself, and how he's saying that how business majors should be pitching. But in general, we have a business major right there. Why don't I see her pitch SGU?
Chief Justice Tabor.
I did not
like to
yield
make-
yet.
I would like to make an motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Yella. Do we have any discussion on adjournment? Seeing none, do I see any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, adjournment passes 9-0-0.